This video is sponsored by Squarespace, more about them later. Pokémon Storm Silver is an advanced difficulty ROM hack of Pokémon Soul Silver created by Drayano, and I tried to beat it as a hardcore Nuzlocke with no setup moves, no EVs, and hopefully no deaths. In order to pull this off, every single fight needs to be meticulously planned, and when that fails, I need to get really lucky. Don't! The first order of business is to choose my starter Pokemon, and as usual, chat had a pretty strong opinion on which to pick. Chikorita won? Well, I'm not doing Chikorita. That's idiotic. Why on earth would I do Chikorita? After getting Pokeballs, Flute and I start catching some Pokemon, starting first with Didgeridoo the Sentret, arguably the run's most important encounter. And I'm not even kidding. Never mind the fact that Furret got some decent buffs, Didgeridoo quickly becomes the rallying symbol of the run. He's an icon, a warrior with a heart of gold that will carry this run on his back through the gates of hell. Other encounters here include a gift Eevee named Tambourine from Cynthia, a Geodude named Bongo from Route 46, and a 10% Corphish from Cherry Grove City named Castanets. Despite my initial disappointment at our little crayfish, she too quickly becomes an indispensable member of the team, motivating countless chat members from across the globe to join the Corphish Corps, an elite team of radical activists dedicated to bettering the world. Where there's trouble, the Corphish Corps are there to help. Become a member of the Corphish Corps today. As we make our way to Violet City, I can catch even more Pokemon. As usual, with so many encounters in this playthrough, I won't be mentioning every single one, but I'll highlight those that are most important, including Harmonica the Zubat from Dark Cave, Violin the Charmander from Violet City, and finally Bagpipes the Drifloon from Sprout Tower. And speaking of Sprout Tower, we need to beat a handful of Sages before taking on the first gym leader, including Sage Neil, who has a particularly pesky Natu, though certainly it's nothing Didgeridoo can't handle. My god, it's faster. Uh-oh. No! Didgeridoo! Oh my god, my sweet boy. Wait. Do we think Quick Attack kills from here? Here we go. You got it, Didgeridoo. You got it. My boy! My boy! Some advice for you, never doubt Didgeridoo, especially because he evolves into Furret right at the first level cap. And one of those buffs that I mentioned a minute ago is early access to the elemental punches, which off of a boosted attack stat of 86 makes Didgeridoo the perfect answer into Faulkner's Dum Dum Birds. Doduo goes down from a single ice punch to the face. Or faces. And Farfetch gets farfed by another ice punch. Swablu is just bulky enough to survive an electric charged fist, which means that he can use his held power herb to fire off a devastating single turn 120 base power solar beam for 11 damage. And then we punch him in the face for the KO. Faulkner's Chatot and Murkrow also meet their demises from a single Thunder Punch apiece, so all that's left is Faulkner's pride and joy, Pidgeotto. With decent bulk, he easily tanks a Thunder Punch, but what Pidgeotto has in defense, he lacks in power, meaning an Aerial Ace merely tickles Didgeridoo before he uses one last Thunder Punch to send our feathered foe plummeting to the ground. The battle against Faulkner is didgeridoo, and we've won the first gym badge of the run. But despite that impressive performance, we've now entered the Bugsy split, one of, if not the hardest parts of Storm Silver, primarily for one single reason: Bugsy's Technician Swords Dance Scyther. Even in the vanilla games, this thing is extremely powerful so early in the game. But now, with an effective 90 base power flying type stab move, God save us all. But you know what they say, you can't spell Didgeridoo without G-O-D. Regardless, we're absolutely going to need some new encounters. In the basement of Union Cave, I find a Gibble, but this spherical son of a gun has Dragon Rage, a move that always does 40 damage, which makes him very dangerous to catch. And after a few turns, I decide that it's not worth risking one of my teammates to do it. So we run, which is unfortunate, but in the grand scheme of— No, Garchomp FJ, get out! Get out right now! An encounter I do get is a Rhyhorn named Accordion, who I immediately trade for the sweet comfort of a Gligar, though this one has Hyper Cutter instead of immunity, so no Poison Heal Glysaur for me. I also get a minus speed-natured Torchic without speed boost, which is effectively useless. But Bassoon the Magikarp and Theramin the Magnemity are not, and neither is Organ the Ghastly from Slowpoke Well. But after comfortably defeating Executive Proton, it's now time to face down Bugsy and his terrifying Scyther. But before that, it'd be great great if you could subscribe to the channel. You might think you are, but there's a good chance you're not, and it really does help me out a ton and lets me know that you guys want to see more ROM hack challenges like this in the future. Bugsy leads with Butterfree, and I lead with a friend to me and you, Didgeridoo. An Ice Punch leaves our foe with a Sliver, but all she does is set up a Rain Dance, ensuring that after the heal, our Oblong Furball can take the KO with a second Ice Punch, followed up by a Quick Attack, all the while staying at full HP. So second is Heracross, meaning it's off to bag Peepays on a Bug Bite. This steals her Citrus Berry, but it also activates Little Peepay's Unburden ability, thereby letting us outspeed and nail Heracross with a quad-effective Gust. It's not nearly enough for a one-shot, but all Heracross can do is fire off a fairly strong Aerial Ace before going down to another one on the following turn. This brings in Yanma third, so I go into Bongo on a resisted Air Cutter. Yanma then hits us with a U-turn, meaning that Pinsir comes in and takes a super effective Rock Throw for just about 50%. Not wanting to risk a low roll or a miss, I pivot to Fiddle on a fairly strong negative priority Vital Throw. And then, thanks to Pinsir going for Vital Throw again, Fiddle moves first and takes the KO with an Ember. I guess he's not totally useless after all. But with Yanma back in, it's off to Didgeridoo on a soft Air Cutter. He takes advantage of Yanma's frail defenses to score a clean kill with Fire Punch, bringing Bugsy down to just 2 Pokemon. Didgeridoo can easily take the KO on Beedrill, who comes in first, but that would bring in Scyther, and I do not want her setting up a Swords Dance for free as we're forced to switch out. So instead, I swap in Theremin on a resisted Twin Needle. This then baits Beedrill into going for U-turn for a good chunk of damage. But most importantly, it means that Theremin can nail Scyther with a Thunder Wave on the switch, giving us the much needed speed advantage. Thundershock does decent damage, but with her held Citrus Berry, I don't think we even get the 3-hit kill, which is scary since Scyther sets up a Swords Dance. At +2, Scyther gets to kill on everything we have with Wing Attack or U-turn. The good news is that she'll definitely want to go for U-turn here on Theremin, which will force her out and reset her boosts. So I swap to Bassoon, who gets off an Intimidate, meaning he only needs to take a +1 U-turn. Crap. That's a terrible full paralysis, because now Scyther will want to go for Wing Attack instead of U-turn. And believe it or not, with a critical hit, that actually will just straight up kill Bassoon from full HP. So I switch to Bongo to tank the Wing Attack, which admittedly would have also killed Bongo with a crit. But since it didn't, he lives. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. With Scyther's speed quartered thanks to paralysis, Bongo is free to outspeed and take the kill with a Rock Throw, right? That's what I was thinking when I swapped him in, but unfortunately, Bongo has a speed IV of literally 0, which means that we speed tie with this stupid Scyther. Even a single speed IV would guarantee an outspeed and win us this fight, minus the 10% chance to miss Rock Throw, of course. But instead, if we lose the 50-50 speed tie, Bongo is donezo. So I go back to Bassoon to bring Scyther down to neutral. Not that it really matters since she U-turns out. But with Beedrill back in, I can swap to Didgeridoo on a Sludge Bomb and take the KO with a Fire Punch. So the Piercing Predator is back out. But this time Didgeridoo is at low enough HP that she should always just go for an attack instead of using Swords Dance, which lets me go back to Theremin on a quad-resisted Wing Attack. With our Citrus Berry activating, we can stay in to land another Thundershock. After Scyther's Berry restores some HP, she weirdly just goes for Wing Attack here instead of U-turn. I'm not sure why, but it does mean that Theremin can survive one more hit so long as we dodge the crit. So our Thundershock brings Bugsy's ace down into the red, U-turn comes out, and Theremin lives with 2 HP. We've won the frickin' battle because now it's safe to switch to Bassoon on a priority quick attack and then finally take the KO with a bite. Storm Silver Bugsy has been defeated, completely deathless, and the second gym badge is ours. In Vanilla Soul Silver, the fairly difficult fight against Bugsy is immediately followed up by an even harder fight against the third gym leader Whitney. But in Storm Silver, Bugsy is by far the scarier of the two, especially because after unleashing Castanet's big meaty claw on my rival's Quilava in front of Ilex Forest, I can snag a whole new batch of encounters around Goldenrod City. Most notable are a Mime Jr. named Air Guitar from Route 34, a Piplup named Triangle from a Juggler in Goldenrod City, and Piccolo the Togepi who hatches at the GTS. None of them are relevant for the fight against Whitney, but they will be later. Mandolin the Pinsir from the National Park is relevant, but against Whitney's lead Lickitung, I start by sending out Bag Peepays. With the Thunderbolt TM, we have a way to deal decent damage to Lickitung, who can only fire back with resisted Power Whips. After a few turns that include burning Whitney's first Super Potion, I switch to Mandolin, who resists the Grass-type attack. And then with a Brick Break, we take the first kill of the match. That immediately brings in Whitney's utterly powerful ace, so I stay in and get nailed by an Attract, but it proves ineffective as there's nothing Mandolin does better than Revenge. Then it's off to Tambourine, who's evolved into Umbreon, on a Body Slam that crits and also paralyzes. But at least our Synchronize ability also paralyzes Miltank, efficiently burning her Lumberry. So we take another Body Slam that activates our Berry before firing off a Tickle to lower Miltank's attack and defense. An Attract comes out as Tambourine gets fully paralyzed. So I swap to Theremin, who permanently paralyzes the Heifer with a Thunder Wave. This now lets Accordion come in and start spamming Rock Smash, which proves to be the Barnyard Beast's downfall. She only gets off a single Body Slam before finally going down just a few turns later. So that just leaves Whitney's 4 remaining Pokemon, and while we take them out, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Squarespace, an online platform that helps you easily and efficiently build and manage your own website, whether that's an online store for your business or a personal blog for your thoughts. That's right, Garchomp FJ, I don't need your help with the segue this time. Go on, scram, scatter, skedaddle. Folks, we all need a bit of assistance every now and then. With the help of a Yawn from Tambourine, Mandolin is able to safely take out Wigglytuff with a few Brick Breaks. And with the help of Squarespace's all-in-one platform and customizable templates, I was able to create PoppyHG.com, the only destination to find curated pictures of my corgi puppy, Poppy. Plus, using their Fluid Engine design system featuring drag-and-drop technology, it was easy to fine-tune every single detail. Just like it's easy to pivot between Accordion and Bassoon with U-turn to slowly whittle away at Whitney's Clefable until she's in range of a Dragon Rage. You gotta love synergy, Whitney never saw it coming. And speaking of synergy, Squarespace has a ton of other really useful features to get the most out of your website, like analytic information about the traffic of your website, and Squarespace member areas, which can be used to connect with your audience and create exclusive members-only content. So if you're looking to start a website for your business or hobby or corgi, and you don't want to break the bank doing it, then you should check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your website, you can use my custom link to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. With Whitney defeated and the 3rd gym badge obtained, it's off to Ecruteak City. But unlike in the vanilla games, where at this point you can immediately access most of the rest of Johto, Drayano restricted access to the routes around Ecruteak City in an effort to linearize the story and improve the level curve of the game. So, other than trading Air Guitar the Mime Jr. for a Smoochum, who will be important later, there's not much of note before it's time to face off against Morty. And he leads with a Duskull. Yeah, Dre kinda underbaked Morty's team. He's got a Shuppet too, both of which just get eviscerated by an ominous win from Organ, who I've evolved into Gengar. Misdreavus is a tad bulkier, so I gotta switch out. Tambourine gets hit with a Will-O-Wisp on the switch, so after Synchronize also burns Misdreavus, I bring in Didgeridoo on a mean look and take the kill with a few Shadow Claws. He then also slashes Haunter to bring him into the red, expertly dodging the follow-up Hypnosis in the process. This grants a safe switch to Organ on another Hypnosis that gets healed by our held Lumberry. And with an ominous wind, we take the kill. This baits in Sableye, which means I can bring in Bongo, whose bulky physical defense means we comfortably eat a few Shadow Claws from Sableye and snag the KO with just a couple hits. So last is Gengar, who has a pretty annoying moveset of Hypnosis, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and Giga Drain. But by switching between Bongo, who baits Shadow Ball or Giga Drain, and Piccolo the Togekiss, who baits Thunderbolt, I can comfortably stall Gengar out of Thunderbolt PP, thereby granting a safe switch into Didgeridoo, who destroys Gengar with a critical hit Shadow Claw. For those of you keeping track, Didgeridoo has now helped us snag 3 of the first 4 gym badges. What an absolute unit. On the way to Cyanwood City, we pick up some essential teammates like Bass Drum the Poliwag from Ecruteak City, Mayonnaise the Staryu from Olivine City, and Kashaka the Chinchou from Route 41. We also get some very inessential teammates. But remember that sweet little Smoochum I traded for? Well, she's evolved into a Jinx, and she's here to kick ass and get banned in the English dub of the anime, and she's already been banned. With her psychic powers, Air Guitar absolutely shreds through Chuck's feeble-minded gym bros. Primeape, Hitmonlee, and Hitmonchan all go down in one shot. Breloom has priority Mach Punch, and unfortunately Air Guitar has pitiful defense, so we gotta switch to Harmonica on a Focus Punch, who then gets a KO with Wing Attack. Chuck's punchy Poliwag is 5th, so I bring in my own for a bit of an honor battle. With Water Absorb, Drain Punch, and a held Lumberry, we're able to best our foe in gloved combat after just a few turns, bringing in Hariyama last. But with Fake Out, Cross Chop, and Earthquake, he cannot touch Organ, who... Okay, never mind. I guess Mayonnaise is going to be the one to take the kill with 2 Psybeams, winning us an easy 5th gym badge. But also with 5 gym badges, it's time for the first of Storm Silver's Team Rocket Gauntlets, featuring several fights against various Rocket executives as they scheme to take over the Safari Zone. This little mini story arc concludes with a brand new fight against Archer, but not just any fight, a 2v2 multi-battle with Riley. Anyone who's seen my Renegade Platinum videos knows just how scary multi-battles can be. A few flops from my computer teammate, and I could be looking at a very deadly 2v1. Archer and his right-hand goon lead with Zangoose and Scyther. I lead with Organ, and Riley leads with Absol. Scyther's moveset is pretty lousy, so I just target down Zangoose with a Thunderbolt, though since he lives, he comfortably snipes off Absol with a critical hit close combat. Scyther simply misses a Fury Cutter, so as Lucario comes in next, I lose the speed tie against Zangoose, who fires off another massive close combat before going down to our second Thunderbolt. Scyther opts for a double team, but Lucario connects with the Psychic anyways. With Houndoom out next for Archer, I swap to Fiddle as Lucario falls to a Thunderfang, and Scyther connects with a dinky Fury Cutter. Ursaring is Riley's 3rd and final Pokemon, and he immediately gets nailed with a Fire Blast. Scyther goes for a soft slash, so Fiddle is at nearly full HP as he nails Houndoom with a double kick. Though sadly, it's not enough for the KO, and Ursaring goes for an Aerial Ace to kill Scyther, so Houndoom lives as Mawile comes in second for the goon. Surprisingly, Archer switches Houndoom out for Gyarados, so our quick attack does next to nothing before we get hit by a soft Vice Grip, and Ursaring goes for a weak Avalanche. So I swap to Kashaka as Gyarados goes for Bounce, and Mawile goes for another limp Vice Grip. Bounce connects on the following turn to kill Ursaring, but then we easily get the revenge kill with a Thunderbolt before shrugging off a quad-resisted Iron Head. Which means it's now a 2v1, but Kashaka is bulky enough to tank a feint attack from Houndoom, who comes back in, and then retaliate with a Surf for the KO. Which means that after another Surf to KO Mawile, and a few Ice Beams from Triangle the Empoleon into the Goon's Grand Bowl, we've completed the first Rocket Gauntlet completely deathless. But next time we see Archer, he won't be so easy. Back on the mainland, I can challenge Jasmine at the Olivine City Gym, and Gen 1ers rejoice because her steel types are destroyed by Violin the Charizard. Kinda. Metang and Magneton both go down to a single flamethrower, and immediately getting rid of that nasty electric type makes the rest of her team much easier. Bronzong has heat proof and only takes about 50% before setting up Rain Dance, so I swap in Castanets, the now fully evolved Crawdaunt. And after tanking a few Gyro Balls during a hard-earned nap, my Crabulous Crustacean gets the KO with a rain-boosted big meaty claw. Fortress is 4th and threatens with a nasty explosion, so I bring in Vuvuzela. Oh, by the way, I caught a Steelix in Cliff Cave. With one ball of... With one ball of... With one... With... With one ball, obviously. They don't call me Dr. One Ball HG for nothing. Anyways, Vuvuzela gets the KO with 2 Fire Fangs and avoids Explosion. Jasmine sends out her Steel Snake, but this is an honor battle that we won't win, so it's out to Accordion to make sure Steelix doesn't go for Earthquake, and then I immediately bring in Triangle, who drowns Jasmine's Mighty Ace with a Surf. All that's left is Skarmory, so with just a few more Surfs, we've won the battle and the 6th gym badge is ours. With the eastern routes of Johto unlocked, there are a bunch more encounters before facing off against Price. An egg from Riley in Mahogany Town hatches into Piano the Riolu, and a Feebas named Saxophone from the Lake of Rage means I've got another bulky water type. There's also Recorder the Swablu, who, believe it or not, will be rather important. After a skippable raid of the Rocket Hideout, it's time to face off against Price. But that's borderline skippable too, because Piano, now a Lucario, absolutely ravages our foes' ice types. Thanks to Piano's plus special attack rash nature, Choice Specs Aerospheres one-shot Abomasnow, Mamoswine, Glalie, and Dewgong. Lepra lives one, but he can't retaliate with a KO anyways, so Piano is safe to get his 5th KO of the fight. Frostlass is last and is obviously immune to Aerosphere, so it's off to Kashaka on a Thunderbolt. After tanking a Shadow Ball, I hit Frostlass with a Surf for some chip, and then it's off to guess who? Didgeridoo. He comes in on a free Shadow Ball, which means that with a Choice Band boosted Priority Sucker Punch, Frostlass is Didgeridoo and we've won the 7th Gym Badge of Storm Silver. With Team Rocket's plans to take over the Goldenrod City Radio Tower in full swing, we've got to face down the final Rocket Gauntlet, which once again culminates with a fight against Archer. This time, it's not a multi-battle. It's just 6 of his Pokemon versus 6 of mine. No problem, right? He leads with Zangoose, and we're able to immediately snipe him down with a Choice Specs Aerosphere from Piano. This brings in Machamp, so it's off to Accordion, who can comfortably tank Machamp's attacks with the help of Leftovers and Roost. 2 Aerial Aces get the KO, sending in Gyarados 3rd. So I switched to Bass Drum on an Ice Fang, which had that frozen, we'd have been in a lot of trouble. With Protect, we can stall out Gyarados' Bounce PP, and then Strength, which is a Rock-type move in this game, is enough for the 3-hit kill. But as you can see, Gyarados is going for random moves now that he's out of Bounce PP, so an Ice Fang freeze or flinch, or a rogue critical hit from Earthquake, is all it would have taken for Bass Drum to get totally screwed here. In fact, even without any bad RNG, because Archer heals, I have to switch out into Violin to bait a Waterfall and get Bass Drum back some HP with his Water Absorb ability. In the end, it all works out and Gyarados goes down, but this was a very sloppy matchup and I don't like how I planned it. Nevertheless, Houndoom is next, and as he sets up a Sunny Day, we fire off a Drain Punch, which fails to get the KO after the Intimidate attack drop. So it's off to Violin. Unfortunately, with our Solar Power ability, we're taking damage every turn in the harsh sunlight. So even though we can outspeed and get the KO with another Strength, Violin is still at pretty low HP when Drapion comes in 5th. I switch to Accordion, who suffers a defense drop from a Crunch. So it's back to Bass Drum on an Aqua Tail, and then he tanks a Cross Poison and goes for a Drain Punch for just a bit of damage. With that, I can comfortably switch to Accordion on a resisted Cross Poison, tank a soft Aqua Tail, and then get the clean kill with a Dig. But that still leaves Archer's Scizor, who with Swords Dance is a massive problem. My answer was supposed to be Violin, but with the earlier switch in on Gyarados and the residual damage from Solar Power, he's at much lower HP than I was expecting. On the switch, Violin takes 19 damage from a Bullet Punch, so that means that a critical hit will kill us on the following turn. 1 crit here, and everything I've done to maintain a completely deathless run of Storm Silver will come crashing down. Come on, Scizor. Come on, Scizor. Don't. Ah! Okay. Woo! Never punished. Never punished. Never punished indeed, because with that, Archer's been defeated and we've vanquished Team Rocket once and for all. If only it were so simple. Before I even have a chance to thank my lucky stars, who should appear but Giovanni himself? With no break and no chance to change my team, we've got to face down another 6 Pokemon. Fortunately, we did get healed, so as the Rocket Boss leads with Persian, all of my Pokemon are at full HP. A Fake Out flinches Piano, activating our Steadfast ability, so with the speed boost on the next turn, we're free to get a clean KO with Aerosphere. Second is Rhyperior, who conveniently also falls to a single Aerosphere. Nidoking doesn't, so it's off to Accordion on an Earthquake, followed by a switch to Air Guitar on an Ice Beam. With a Psychic, we pick up the 3rd kill of the fight and bait in Kangaskhan, who without Scrappy has no way to hit Organ in other than with Sucker Punch. So by stalling out her PP with Protect, we're free to take the kill with a handful of Thunderbolts. That brings in Tauros, and with Payback, Organ is no longer the play. Instead, it's Accordion who can spam Roost while tanking Double Edges. The recoil slowly chips away at Tauros' HP until we can get the KO with an Aerial Ace. So all that's left of Giovanni's team is Nidoqueen, who also has Ice Beam, meaning that we can get another safe switch into Air Guitar and take the final KO of the fight with another Psychic. That went significantly better than the fight against Archer, didn't it? But now that Team Rocket has been officially defeated, we can make our way to Blackthorn City where the final Johtonian gym leader awaits. Along the way, I catch a Lotad named Gonza, an adorable angel named Tabla, and a Skarmory named Whistle. Claire's dragon types are mostly unimpressive, but just like in the baseline games, her Kingdra is a massive issue. With the ability Sniper, it's nearly impossible to play around crits, and without the fairy type, it's very difficult to safely hit her for super effective damage. But I've got a plan, which starts by sweeping half her team with Ice Beams from Air Guitar. Dragonair, Salamence, and Altaria are all instant one-shots. Who would have thought that Jinx would be so good in Johto? Air Guitar's got nothing for Gyarados though, so it's off to Theremin on a fairly nasty waterfall. They now bait an Earthquake though, which grants me a safe switch into Bassoon for a Gyarados honor battle. But we've got something that Claire's Gyarados doesn't. Freaking Thunderbolt, baby. Long live Special Gyarados. 2 shots get the KO, and we just need to eat a few post-intimidate outrages. That brings in the second Dragonair, so I bring in Whistle to eat a resisted outrage. And with Roost to keep us healthy, Whistle easily gets the KO with a few drill packs. So last is that pesky Kingdra, which means it's time for my ringer, Recorder the Altaria. She comes in on a Hydro Pump that just straight up misses. But here's the scary part. Recorder's gotta connect with a 90% Draco Meteor. I believe in you, Recorder. The fate of our deathless run rests on your fluffy shoulders. Recorder connects with Draco Meteor, promptly one-shotting Kingdra and winning us the 8th gym badge. Folks, we are on our way to the Pokemon League of Storm Silver with 0 deaths on my very first attempt. The final obstacle in our way is my rival Scooter, but we've been crushing his team throughout this entire playthrough, and this time is no different. The only marginally difficult Pokemon he has is Kingdra, for similar reasons to that of Claire's, though at least Scooter's is Swift Swim instead of Sniper. But if you're thinking of playing this game, I'd recommend choosing Typhlosion as your starter, so that your rival doesn't have Kingdra and instead has Feraligatr. It's just a really annoying Pokemon to fight against. Anyways, with Scooter left beaten, battered, and bruised, we can turn our attention to the Pokemon League. Other than being able to challenge the members of the Elite Four in any order, there's no gimmick in this game like there is in Renegade Platinum or even Blaze Black. It's just 4 single battles followed by an ultimate showdown with Lance. Here's my final team, all leveled up to match the levels of the Elite Four's aces. Each of them were meticulously chosen so that I would have the best chance at doing this deathless. It's a shame that Didgeridoo and Castanets will have to sit this one out, but it'd be devastating to lose them so close to the end of the game, and I owe it to them to not risk their lives. So, can a team of Accordion, Bassoon, Triangle, Mayonnaise, Piano, and Whistle come together to form a symphony worthy of being called champions? It's time to find out. First up is Will and his Psychic types. He leads with Jinx, which is ironic because I really wanted to bring Air Guitar to the finals here, but she just barely didn't make the cut. Will's Jinx goes for a lovely kiss into Bassoon, who immediately wakes up with her held Lumberry and retaliates with a super effective Crunch for a clean one-shot. Lunatone comes in second and instantly falls to Waterfall. So third is Solrock, but since they outspeed and threaten with Stone Edge, I gotta switch out to Whistle, who instantly gets nailed by a critical hit. Okay, well I guess I'll switch to Piano, and then a Flash Cannon gets another KO. Slowbro is third, so I swap to Mayonnaise on what I was hoping would be a Fire Blast, but ends up being an Amnesia. So now our Thunderbolts aren't doing much, even with a Choice Specs, as Slowbro continues to set up even more Amnesias. After a few turns, she starts going for Surf, which does much more damage than I'd like. And not wanting to trigger a heal here, I decide to bring Bassoon back in on another Surf. But then we can take the KO with Crunch. So that brings in Gardevoir, easily Will's trickiest Pokemon. With Thunderbolt and Psychic, she hits every every single one of my Pokemon for at least neutral damage. The plan is to switch to Accordion on potential Thunderbolts and Triangle on potential Psychics, making sure to use U-Turn for super effective damage each time Accordion swaps out. The problem is that Gardevoir knows Reflect, so as Accordion fires off her second U-Turn, Gardevoir survives with a Sliver and goes for a Hypnosis. With 60% accuracy, she misses Triangle, meaning that we can nail her with a Surf as Will heals with a Full Restore. But that miss is actually pretty catastrophic, because it means that on the following turn, Gardevoir hits Accordion with a Hypnosis on the switch, which would never have happened if Triangle had already been asleep. If I was smart, I would have given Accordion a Lumberry, which would let us take the KO with a U-Turn here now that Reflect is worn off. But I didn't give her a Lumberry. Instead, I gave her nothing. My dumbass forgot to give Accordion an item. This is easily one of the worst mistakes I've ever made, because now I am completely I can go to Triangle on a Psychic, and in a rather boneheaded attempt to get some HP back with leftovers, I use Protect, which lets Gardevoir set up a Reflect for free. I can survive a single non-hit Thunderbolt, but Gardevoir opts for another Hypnosis, which connects. I stay in for a turn and pray for an early wake-up, and even though I dodge the crit, Triangle stays asleep. So as much as I hate to say it, I'm probably gonna need a sack to get out of this. With Reflect up, none of my Pokemon can one-shot this stupidly powerful Gardevoir. Triangle, Bassoon, Whistle, and Mayonnaise all die to a single Thunderbolt. Accordion and Mayo both go down to 2 Psychics. Accordion is guaranteed at least 1 turn of sleep, so she'll die before getting the kill, and since even a Thunderbolt on Piano will do enough damage for a Psychic follow-up to get the KO, I have no way to bring him in safely either. Well, actually, I do have one shot. I can switch to Accordion on a Thunderbolt, switch to Bassoon on a Psychic, and then back to Accordion on a Thunderbolt. By that point, Reflect will have worn off, and if Gardevoir doesn't see the kill on Accordion, she might set up Reflect instead of going for Psychic, which would then grant me the safe switch into Piano. It's really risky because if she doesn't go for Reflect, Piano will be dead. But it's my only chance to keep this run deathless, so Accordion comes in on a Thunderbolt as expected. Then I bring in Bassoon. That's a crit. Just like that, my deathless run of Storm Silver is over. Obviously, I can keep going, and I will. But man, is that frustrating. Not because Bassoon got crit, but because this is ultimately entirely my fault for rushing the planning and prep phase of the Elite Four and completely forgetting to give Accordion an item. That is an extremely stupid mistake, and at this point, I thought I was beyond making those kind of misplays, but evidently not. Oh, and fun fact for those of you who recently watched my Renegade Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke using starters only, where I forgot to remove a Choice Scarf from Luigi the Torterra, causing a near disaster against Volkner, this mistake was on the same day. Believe it or not, there is such a thing as too much Pokemon, and mistakes like this are a good indication that working on 2 ROM hacks at the same time was a case of me spreading myself far too thin and trying to do way too much. Regardless, everyone makes mistakes, and though it feels brutal to fumble my deathless run so close to the Hall of Fame, the only thing I can do is learn from it and honor Bassoon's sacrifice by ensuring no more of my teammates die before the end of this run. Of course, that's going to be pretty difficult to do because even though we can finish out the fight against Will, I'll now need to change all of my game plans for the remaining fights. Rest well, Bassoon. I'm so sorry. With our brief mourning period coming to an end, I set my sights on Bruno and his fighting types next. He leads with a Hitmontop, which Accordion and Mayonnaise can stall out with Roost and Recover respectively. After a while, Mayonnaise is poised to get a clean KO with Choice Spec Psychic. This also gets a KO on Hariyama thanks to a favorable high roll. Lucario is third, so I go back to Accordion on a Dark Pulse that crits. Fortunately, it doesn't matter here, as an Earthquake gets the one-shot. And with that, Bruno is down to his last 3 Pokemon, all of which Mayo cleanly kills with a single Psychic apiece, netting us a significantly easier victory over the second member of the Elite Four. Karen's Dark types are third, so against her intimidating Mightyena, I lead with Piano. An Aura Sphere is enough for another easy KO, immediately baiting in Houndoom, but with our held Choice Scarf, we can outspeed and send the Hellhound back from whence she came. So that brings in Honchkrow, who with Sucker Punch and Brave Bird is a pretty big issue. Fortunately, Accordion can eat Brave Birds by going for Roost until the recoil brings her low enough that we can take the KO with the Strength. This only doesn't work if Honchkrow lands a few crits, but since she doesn't, we're good to go. Absol has nothing that threatens Accordion and falls to a few Earthquakes, and similarly, Spiritomb doesn't have anything that threatens Triangle and falls to a few Surfs. So last is Umbreon, who does like to spam Double Team, but with Aura Sphere from Piano, we've handily defeated Karen just a few turns later. So suddenly, the final member of the Elite Four is Koga. He leads with Venomoth, which is Bug Psychic in Storm Silver, but it doesn't really matter because we just take the KO with a Choice Banded Aerial Ace from Accordion. Tentacruel comes in, so I switch to Mayonnaise as he sets up Swords Dance. A little scary since a crit will now kill my C-Star, but Koga throws by failing a double protect, letting Mayo nail him with a Psychic for free. So before the Tentacled Titan even gets a chance to attack, a second Psychic gets the KO. And with Weezing coming out next, Mayo pops his mind for another clean kill. But that then brings in Crobat, the reason why I saved Koga for last. I gotta switch just in case he goes for Brave Bird, though it ends up being a double team. That's right, time to get lucky. After a second double team, Whistle misses a Drill Peck, but after a third, we connect, and my little Steel Bird even lands a critical hit. Absolutely incredible, because even after Citrus Berry recovery, Crobat should now be in range to a single Ice Beam from Triangle. So all she has to do is connect one time. But even after risking a critical hit Brave Bird to give her a second chance, Triangle fails to land the finishing blow. So I switch back to Whistle, though he comes in on a Heat Wave, which uses up his Occa Berry, meaning that I got to immediately switch out to Accordion. Time to clutch up, buddy. After taking a Heat Wave on the switch, Crobat lets a massive Brave Bird rip. But it's not enough for the KO, even if it had crit, meaning that Accordion can finally get the KO on Crobat with a perfectly accurate Aerial Ace. Muck is next for Koga and has a bizarre moveset consisting of Gunk Shot, Rock Slide, Focus Punch, and Substitute, but with a little bit of luck avoiding crits and some well-timed roosts, Whistle can relatively safely wall him and get the KO just a few turns later. So last is Toxicroak, but he too can't hit our physically bulky bird for anything other than neutral damage, which means that a few Drill Pecks win us the battle against Koga, and we're on our way to the championship fight against Lance. Just one last fight before we've made it to the Hall of Fame. The Dragon Master leads with Gyarados, and I lead with Mayo. A single Choice Specs Thunderbolt gets the clean kill and immediately brings in Aerodactyl. Since we don't outspeed, I gotta bring in Piano on a quad-resisted Stone Edge. Aerodactyl sets up a Tailwind before we one-shot with Flash Cannon, so as Charizard comes out third, I gotta be a little careful here. I start with a Protect before switching to Accordion on a Focus Miss. Then, with Tailwind properly stalled out, Accordion nails Zard with a massive quad-effective Strength, which misses out on the kill, but does bring him low enough that the recoil from his Flare Blitz takes him out. And with Lance down to the back half of his team, he brings in the first of his Dragonites. This one has Blizzard, so I switch to Piano. Lance just misses, but it doesn't even matter because with Piano's typing, he now baits Fire Blast, granting the safe switch back into Mayonnaise. And from here, it's a Mayo sweep. Choice Specs Ice Beams one-shot the first Dragonite, the second Dragonite, and Lance's final Pokemon, Garchomp. The champion of the Pokemon League has been defeated, and we've made it to the Hall of Fame on our very first attempt. But of course the challenge isn't over, because we've still got to take on all of Kanto, and I can't say I've beaten Storm Silver in one attempt until Red has been knocked off his ivory tower. Now, despite Drayano significantly rehauling the Kanto gym leaders, they still aren't all that difficult. And after losing Bassoon, I decided that I didn't want to make any more friends, so Kanto was pretty much just a boss gauntlet. There were some fun moments, including Flute the Meganium getting to sweep Brock, proving that maybe he was the best starter after all. Regardless, we end up shredding through most of the Kanto gym leaders in a matter of hours. If you want to see how that happened, definitely check out the Highlights channel for more detailed coverage of this run. But for this video, let's just jump forward to the fight against the 16th and final gym leader, Blue. He leads with his Nidoqueen, and I lead with Gonza the Ludicolo. Blue sets up a layer of Toxic Spikes as we retaliate with a massive Surf, which isn't quite enough for the KO, but since Nidoqueen appears to just go for a Roar on the following turn, our second Surf finishes her off. So that brings in Gyarados, who goes down to a few Grass Knots after we've stalled him out of Bounce PP with Protect. third is Rhyperior, and he obviously falls to a single Grass Knot as well. After that, Machamp comes out, and with no guard Dynamic Punch, he can be a bit of a pain, but by switching between Organ and Triangle, we can burn all 5 Dynamic Punch PP, and then comfortably take the kill with a few Surfs. Tyranitar comes in 5th to set up the Sand, but Accordion is free to switch in on an Earthquake, and then do some damage with U-Turn as we switch to Piano on the baited Stone Edge, which again just ends up missing. Piano, of course, baits another Earthquake, which gives me a safe switch back to Accordion. A few more turns of this, and Tyranitar falls, quickly bringing Blue down to his final Pokemon, Exeggutor. He takes quadruple damage from U-Turn, which isn't enough for the KO, but does let Tuba the Skuntank come in and shrug off a Leaf Storm. Well, shrug off is not really true, it still does a ton of damage, but regardless, we were completely safe here. After Blue heals, 2 Night Slashes take out Exeggutor, decisively winning us the final gym badge of the run. So all that's left is the fight against Red on top of Mount Silver. With a massive level cap of 90, this Mute Recluse is all that stands between us and another Attempt 1 victory. Can we do it, or will we fall tragically short? Red leads with Pikachu and I lead with Tabla, who nukes the little rat with an Earthquake. Sorry, Squeakers, better luck next time. Blastoise comes in 2nd, so I bring in Kashaka on a Hydro Pump. The Tanky Turtle outspeeds us, so after tanking another Hydro Pump that manages to get a critical hit, I have just one request for Kashaka.
Actually, Kashaka, if you don't mind fully paralyzing him, that would be pretty swell. Hey, thanks!
I guess all you gotta do is ask. Well, with the speed advantage and no more crits from Blastoise, Kashaka comes out on top, and Red is forced to bring out Venusaur. But he's got nothing for Violin, who shrugs off a quad-resisted Power Whip and proceeds to light up our enemy with just a few flamethrowers. An Akaberry doesn't stop us from getting the 2-hit kill, and with Leftovers recovery, Violin is back to basically full HP as Snorlax comes in 4th. I switch to Piano on a Body Slam. Close combat isn't enough for the one-shot, so I opt for Aura Sphere first before a second Body Slam brings us into the yellow. I'm not sure I've ever seen 2 Body Slams connect and not get at least 1 paralysis, but with our held Lumberry, that was always pretty safe. Red's Charizard is 5th, so it's off to Saxophone on an Air Slash, but with Leftovers recovery and Focus Miss doing what it does best, we can get an easy kill with 2 Surfs, bringing Red down to his final Pokemon almost as quickly as Blue. Against Espeon, I go for a Protect, letting him set up Reflect, which is pretty annoying given that I fully intend to finish out this battle with my girl Castanets. Could have really used her in that fight against Will, I'll tell you that much. We need to stall out Reflect turns, so I first switch to Violin on a Grass Knot. A Protect stalls another turn and shows that Espeon is now going for Psychic, meaning that a switch to Castanets is free and stalls yet another turn. Then, once again baiting Grass Knot, I go back to Violin. But now the Reflect should be over and I can switch back to Castanets on another Psychic. So finally, with a held Rindo Berry, she's safe to eat a super effective Grass Knot. And with an entire playthrough's worth of thrilling moments in our rearview mirror, Castanets retaliates with a massive, adaptability boosted, super effective Night Slash that cleanly kills Espeon in one fell swoop.
That light clay.
Ugh. Fine, I guess Violin can come in on another Grass Knot and take the kill with a Flamethrower, which means that he technically wins us the entire run, but it was really Castanets. Don't let Big Charizard convince you otherwise, guys. Castanets, and Didgeridoo of course, were the true heroes of this run. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a hardcore Nuzlocke of Storm Silver defeated in one attempt with only one single death. Would doing it deathless have been cooler? Probably, but hey, Pobody's Nerfic, least of all me. As usual, I want to give a huge shout out to the creator of this ROM hack, Drayano. Go give him some love on Twitter to hear more about his upcoming projects, including updated versions of Sacred Gold and Storm Silver. I can't wait to play them as soon as they're ready because Dray's games are always a blast. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. As we near the end of 2023, I cannot stress how grateful I am for everyone who supports this channel. Here's to a happy and healthy 2024 for all. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke content, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit. Oh, and double check your items before fighting the Elite Four. It can't hurt.